Okay, what up ladies and gents, it's your favorite Asian robot, and hopefully one day I'll be your favorite Diablo 4 content creator. Now, before we go anywhere else, let me introduce you to a build that I have the most passion for. This is my human druid. I'm super excited to share it with you because this build is actually fun to play, and it works. It's not just fun, it works. Okay, I started this out with a concept of a no unique druid. Basically, I don't really want to have any uniques in this build. And I didn't expect it to work, but it actually did. And you can actually check it out on my live streams when I leveled it up and everything. It actually works surprisingly well, despite the fact that all I did was shove in skills that have a fundamental benefit instead of synergizing them. And, well, I guess that it brought its own synergy to the table. All right, I'll explain it all when we go through the skill build. But if you like my stuff, okay, I'm going to make a quick appeal to you guys. Like, share, and when you subscribe, hit the bell button and set notifications to all. That way you never miss anything that I put up, okay? I'm going to ask that of you. Oh, and follow me on Twitter. I'm trying to become a Twitter influencer as well, because there's money in that. Okay? All right. Now, let's check out this build. Let me temporarily remove my face. Okay? We're going to refund all skill points, as we always do. And I'm going to show you how to build it up from the early game all the way through to the mid game. Okay, now what I'm going to teach you first and foremost is what to build in the early game, and then we'll go into the mid game. There is no transition for this build, meaning that it's a build that you build the same all the way through. Okay, so first and foremost, you want your Storm Strike. Now this build also assumes that you've got all your bonus skill points, all right? So if you don't have that, you might need to get that first. Storm Strike is your most important basic attack. Why? Because it can immobilize enemies, reduce the damage that it deals, like the enemies can deal to you. Okay? And it makes them vulnerable. Vulnerable is one of the most important status effects in the game. So, make sure you go Storm Strike, Enhanced Storm Strike, Fierce Storm Strike for the vulnerable. Okay? Your core skill. Now, I've got 4 points in Tornado already, due to the fact that I have an item that contributes literally 4 ranks of Tornado. Okay? But you want to go Tornado, Enhanced Tornado, and then Raging Tornado. Why? This adds to Vulnerable. Okay? By having a 10% chance of making enemies hit by Tornado vulnerable, even if you didn't Storm Strike them, you know, you can keep the Vulnerable going. Each time you cast Tornado, you have a 20% chance to spawn an additional Tornado, which is pretty useful. And basically, Tornado itself is a pretty good core skill that dishes out quite a bit of damage. Okay? Now, you've already made it down to this tree here. Your skills, you've got 2 skills. Next, you want to go for Earthen Bulwark. Now, if in the early stages of the game, you find that you are suffering a lot, I would actually recommend instead of Earthen Bulwark, you can go for Debilitating Roar. Now, you have to spend 9 points, but basically, you can get a heal here. Okay? I find that this is not important at all. This is just an option that I'm sharing with you. I feel that Earthen Bulwark is the ideal choice. Okay? Make sure you grab the Preserving Earthen Bulwark, where it will fortify you. Okay? Excuse me. You can also choose to take the Innate Earthen Bulwark. All right? This is one of the fantastic choices as well, if you don't want to go for the Fortify. Now, I will explain one thing, that if you choose to go this way instead, right, your fortification is mostly going to come from the Trample, all right? So it's up to you which way you want to choose, all right? Play around with it, you know, have it your way. But in the early stages of the game, Fortifying was so crucial to me that I went with Fortify here. Okay? I felt that this did a lot better for me. Now, you don't need any more skills from this set. So, these other 2 points that you need to access this tree, you put them into Tornado. Obviously. Okay? Then you can access your Companion tree. Now, I am getting extra skill points in these, so please pay no attention to the base values. Pay attention to where I'm adding the skills, all right? Now, I went for Poison Creeper. I put it in slot 4, okay? Because I felt that slot 4 was a lot easier for me. Poison Creeper has a long base cooldown of 20 seconds. Right now you're seeing 14.9 because I have a lot of cooldown reduction. But the actual base cooldown of Poison Creeper is 20 seconds. Okay? So this is something that I use only against elites. You want to go enhanced and then brutal. Why? Critical strike chance is increased by 20% against enemies strangled by Poison Creeper. This is absolutely useful. Alright? So when you use the active skill of Poison Creeper, you can get 20% additional critical strike chance, especially against elites, things like that. It's a very useful skill to completely devastate your opponents. Alright? Now you're going to need 2 more points to access this tree here. What I actually recommend at this point is that you can either put the 2 points into Tornado, alright, for those of you that prefer to work on skills before passives, or if you find that you're building up Spirit too slowly, put a point into Heart of the Wild, then go for Abundance, alright? That brings you down to this tree. And this is where you're going to get 2 more of your crucial skills, okay? I went with Hurricane, although I put this in skill slot number 3. Hurricane first, Enhanced Hurricane, Natural Hurricane. Then Trample, Enhanced Trample, and I actually went with Natural Trample for the Fortify. Okay? Later on, if you want to switch to a purely damaging version of Bulwark, you absolutely can. I'm going to show you the Fortify version, which is a bit more defensive, less offense. But you can Fortify really fast with that. Okay? But remember that you always have the choice to switch over. Alright? Okay. This settles it for the early game. The early game finishes as soon as you... Because there's no more skills to get. Your skill bar is full, right? The early game finishes as soon as you max out Abundance and max out Tornado. That's it for your early game. 26 points, that's your early game. It's finished. Okay? Why Abundance? Abundance is the first and most important passive you need to generate more Spirit with your basic attacks. Okay? So that's it. You've got all your skills. You've got everything. Trample will help you by making you unstoppable, allowing you to knock enemies back and things like that. But mostly it's used for the unstoppable. In case you get into trouble, you charge the elite that is causing you trouble, knock them into a wall, dish out additional damage. Hurricane helps you to slow enemies, inflicting a crowd control effect, which can be used to buff up your damage, right? Via damage versus crowd control. And on top of that, it makes enemies vulnerable very easily. Okay? So this is what I went for. Now, you're going to need 7 points before you get your key passive, which is Nature's Fury. So, now that you've finished out the early game, let's talk about the mid game. How do you move this build into the mid game, and which passives do you grab? Mid game is all about finishing your skills and grabbing your passives. So, let's talk about passives right now. When you move into the mid game, all right, I recommend, if you find that you're dying severely, go for max Circle of Life first. Okay, 1 point to Defiance, then max out Circle of Life. Okay, what I did was after finishing Circle of Life, I maxed out Defiance first because this will help you deal with elites quickly. All right, then I went with Resonance, 1 point. I grabbed my Nature's Fury because you must grab this as soon as you can. Then I finished off this entire tree. I went with Resonance first, then Natural Disaster. Okay, Natural Disaster can in fact be left until you have the core aspects of this build. Why? Because you will not be casting any Earth skills without your Poison Creeper. Okay, once you have your Poison Creeper, working on Natural Disaster is helpful. That said, in place of Natural Disaster, okay, let's say you don't want to work on this first, what you can do, because there are several other passives that you need to grab, what you can do is, after you finish this out, okay, I would first recommend grabbing Predatory Instinct and maxing that out. This gives you critical chance against close enemies, which is absolutely stunningly useful, okay? Next, you will probably want to grab maxed out Wild Impulses. Why? It'll help your core skill deal 15% more damage, multiplicative, of course, and it will cost 9% more, but that's still okay because basically you'll be doing 2 casts of Tornado for a full set of Spirit. Yeah? Next, you will want to just put 1 point into Heart of the Wild, because this gives you enough for 3 casts of Tornado, assuming that you can reduce the spirit cost. Okay, reducing the spirit cost is very important, because in total, thanks to your spirit boons and all that, which I'll talk about at the end of the skill walkthrough, I'll talk about spirit boons. Thanks, with Heart of the Wild at 2 ranks, you will have 116 spirit, which is pretty much enough, with some spirit cost reduction on your amulet usually, to cast Tornado 3 times. And that's all you're really going for. You're just going for 3 casts of Tornado. You know, it's supposed to end there. You can also get spirit cost reduction on your boots, okay, with more maximum spirit on your helmet if needed. All right. So yeah, basically your goal is to just be able to cast Tornado 3 times, and that's more than enough for a full count of spirit. Okay. All right. So these are the passives I worked on first. Now you can choose to finish off Natural Disaster if you want to. You can go for Neurotoxin and then Envenom, because you having 30% extra critical strike damage against poison enemies, considering the fact that you critically strike pretty easily with this druid, is really freaking awesome. So I really like that. Then I went 5 points up here toward the end of my journey. I put 3 points into Bad Omen, because this additional lightning bolt that comes down, you're always dealing damage to vulnerable opponents. You will always be making every enemy vulnerable with this build. And the fact that you have just an extra lucky hit that'll just trigger and dish out additional damage is very useful. So I went with Bad Omen here. If you find that you don't need it later on, you can strip it off, but I find that it's pretty useful, honest to God. And the remaining 3 points I put into Landslide. If you find that you don't really need this, you can go for Heart of the Wild, but I find that Heart of the Wild, just 3 extra spirit is a waste of skill points. I'd rather have more into Landslide, which would buff up the damage once you use this build together with the legendary aspects, the core legendary aspects, which I will go through shortly. And this covers it for the mid game. This is every single skill point that I have in the build. All right, this is how it works. Basically, what you're going to do is you're going to cast your tornadoes, which thanks to Nature's Fury, will now trigger free casts of an Earth skill, which in this case is going to be Landslide. And whenever you trigger Hurricane, you might cast Boulder for free. And later on, once you make Trample an Earth skill so that it launches Landslides, not only can the Trample itself trigger a free Hurricane, which is amazing, but the Landslides that the Trample triggers can sometimes throw down a huge Lightning Storm for free, extra tornadoes, everything. Your Storm Strike is going to come with free Earth Spike casts. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So, yeah, overall, this works sublimely well. All right, this is the core of the build. Then the fact that your nature magic skills deal multiplicative damage to elites is fantastic. You heal whenever your nature magics consume spirit. You basically, every time you cast a storm skill, if the next skill is an earth skill, you gain a bonus, which synergizes. After your hurricane, you cast trample. After your trample, you cast tornado. The synergies are beautiful. Although, you know, initially I said that there weren't a lot of synergies. I found that there was just so much that comes together. Now, unfortunately, the poison creeper aspect does not transform poison creeper into a earth skill. Okay, it doesn't give it the earth skill or nature magic tags, but the landslides triggered by that aspect can still trigger all the rest, can still trigger Nature's Fury. Nature's Fury is seriously underestimated, and in this build it works so well, and that's why I went with Bad Omen, because you lucky hit so often and targets are always being made vulnerable. So don't sleep on that, because the free skill casts can lucky hit as well. And Landslide has a naturally, well, higher lucky hit chance than Tornado. Okay? So, yeah, don't sleep on any of that. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to go through these Spirit Boons. Excuse me. The Druid's mechanic is called Spirit Boons. And the Spirit Boon that you want to activate is the Eagle. Alright? So you can get 2 Spirit Boons from the Eagle. My selection is for the Deer Spirit, I went with Gift of the Stag for the extra 10 maximum spirit, allowing more casts of Tornado. For the Eagle, Scythe Talons, increase critical strike chance, and Avian Wrath. Now, what I'm going to say is that late game, if you want to switch this over to swooping attacks, you can. But I recommend doing so only if, okay, and excuse the coughing, you know my lungs. But anyway, I recommend swapping to swooping attacks only if you feel that you have enough critical strike chance. I generally prefer more critical strike chance, okay? So it's up to you. All right. For the wolf, I went with Energize, because when you're dealing damage and you have additional chance to restore spirit, it's fantastic. Okay? You can also, by the way, FYI, if you feel that this is not necessary for you, you can swap to Pack Leader. Okay? Because you're using Poison Creeper. This will reset the cooldown of Poison Creeper, allowing you to constantly cast Poison Creeper, which is pretty insane. All right, the rest also can work really well. Like Bolster can work really well with Earthen Bulwark. So if you don't find that you don't need to reset the companion skill, like mine feels like it cools down fairly quickly, so I choose not to reset it. But if you feel that you want to reset it often, you know, you can go for this. You can go for Bolster. Basically everything in the wolf tree is good. So just swap around and go with whatever you feel works for you. Okay? Whatever you feel works for you, go for that. It's that easy. Okay? So yeah, that's about it for me. Then the snake. Okay, snake, unfortunately with this one, all I can say is that it's pretty bad because you don't use ultimates, you're not really a shapeshifter, and you're not really using earth skills. So all you can really choose is overload. Dealing lightning damage has a 40% chance to cause the target to emit a static discharge. So this is another reason just to make use of the snake bonuses. This is why I went with Bad Omen. And otherwise, Storm Strike is the only one that can even trigger this. So to me, this is considered an extra. If I could pick a different boon in place of the snake, I'd rather just take 2 boons in Wolf, but we know that that's not the case. So yeah, this is all you got. You kind of have to just go with it. All right. So that's it for your spirit boons. And I mean, I know the selection's not great, but that's what you got. That's what we work with. Okay. Now, we don't really go through gear for the early and mid game, because for the early and mid game, what you're focusing on is the highest possible DPS for, you can use any weapon, okay? There's no limitation. Axe or mace, it's your choice, okay? But what I will say is that you must use a totem. And your totem, you want it to have a cooldown reduction roll. The rest, take what you can get initially. Even up until Sacred, I've just taken what I've gotten. I'll focus on gear for the late game build more, you know, once we're in World Tier 7, World Tier 4, World Tier 7, World Tier 4 and all that. All right. And then I'll talk deeply about stats. But as you can see, I'm just using whatever had the highest item power, highest damage per second, and cooldown reduction. I chucked it on and I went with that. All right. So for your weapons, DPS per second, that's what's important. For your jewelry, just take the best that you can get, but try to have stuff that has critical chance, critical strike damage, vulnerable damage. All right, I think you can see that that's what I've gone with. All right, for your amulet, cooldown reduction, spirit cost reduction. I'm still using a 463 item power amulet because I haven't found one better. This is all I've gotten so far. And in terms of your malignant hearts, okay, sorry, before we go on to that, for your armor, just pick stuff which has the highest armor, damage reduction, you know, just the usual stuff, okay? Movement speed on boots, the basics of the basics. Highest armor and movement speed on boots is your bread and butter, yeah? Okay, now, Malignant Hearts. The Brutal Heart of Revenge you can only get once you're close to World Tier 3 or in World Tier 3 itself, okay? Excuse me. This is crucial because this is one of the greatest sources of damage reduction right now. So make sure you have this, okay? It's so good. Now, for the rest of this, if you check the skill planner, I have mentioned that one of these is a Barber Heart instead. I'm basically using the Vicious Heart of the Dark Dance one, where if you pay a life cost, your core skill will deal bonus damage, and it happens once every 5 seconds. Yeah. Okay. This one is the best that I've found so far, because the Wolf Companion is not useful. I'm using the Wolf Companion just for the extra armor, but it's not actually very useful. So yeah, that one is going to be replaced with the Barber Heart. I don't have a Barber Heart yet, but this build, even without the Barber Heart, is absolutely shredding, and I'll demonstrate that, you know, in the combat showcase shortly. All right, so that also covers the Malignant Hearts. Basically, Revenge, Brutal Heart of Revenge, and the Dark Dance are the cores of this to improve your damage, and then try to get a Barber Heart ASAP and chuck that in. If you don't want to use Dark Dance, you can also go with like Malignant Pact. Basically, you've got a free choice, but I try to go for at least 1 Brutal slot, 2 Vicious slots, so that one can be replaced like with the Barber Heart anyway. Because I find that every 5 seconds having the Empowered Core skill is pretty good, and the life cost that you have to pay is genuinely not much. All right, it doesn't change into an exorbitant amount even late in the game. So yeah, it's pretty decent overall. Okay, or you can, well, if you don't want to use Dark Dance, you can use the one where the critical strikes deal more damage, but the non-critical strikes deal less damage. That heart as well can also be used well. Actually, wait, I better check for Malignant Hearts, because I can't see the names of these Malignant Hearts. Sometimes I forget what their names are. I just want to be sure, because I got a nagging feeling that Dark Dance is not the one I'm talking about. Okay, it is called Dark Dance, but the critical strike one is called Tempting Fate. So you can also try that if you really want to in place of Dark Dance. All right, I leave the choice up to you. Experiment with what works for you, because with this build you have a lot of critical strikes. So technically speaking, you could absolutely wreck with that one instead. Yeah. Okay. That's it. Now we're gonna go into a dungeon, and I'll do the combat showcase, showing you how this build plays, you know, and how it all comes together. All right. But before we do that, you know what we always have to do, ladies and gents. We must thank the top supporters, and also I must thank you, my viewers, for putting up with my coughing. I'm so sorry about it, you know, but my lungs are terrible, so I'm sorry. I'll get better slowly over time, but in the winter months, yeah, not happening. Okay, here are August Bigwig supporters. Our top tipper, Big Chungus. All right, top tipper list: Jason Leaving, Mo Rizzle. Top super chatter, Big Chungus and Ender are tied right now. The top super chatter list goes to Marcus Carrillo, Juan San, Mike Cawthorn, Daryl Neo, Tim, oh, Mr. Green Buff, Mo Rizzle. I'm not that guy. Thank you guys so much. Top channel membership gifter is Big Chungus. All right. And our highest channel membership gifters are Mike Cawthorn, Newbie, and Book Slugus. All right. Cosmetic sponsors, Sinner, Nightshade, Newbie, and Big Chungus. Thank you guys so much. You guys are awesome. All right. And now to thank the channel members as well. And okay, where is my channel member list? But seriously, thank you guys for always supporting the content. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You know, hit that bell button. Set your notifications to all via the bell button. And last but not least, you know, follow me on Twitter, because that'll really be a big help right now. Okay? Our top channel members, Big Chungus at the OnlyFan level. We've got Death Dawning 982 at Plus Ultra, also one of our longest channel members. Yeah. Jerry Fast, OG, Rogue Assassin, Zach MG, all of Prestige. These guys are fantastic. In terms of our honored robots, we have Juan San, Corey Ryu, Marcel, Kaishiwa, Bob John, Maxim Lotz, Devin Lashin, Mookie Mocha, Rena, Chase Taylor, Nathan Strong, Nightshade, Lady Neo, Joey Danze, Che D12, Syed Assad, Coda CMF, Kami SMH, Conrad C, Nate the Great, and Benjamin Savage. Thank you guys so much. All right, enjoy the combat showcase coming shortly. Okay guys, I totally forgot this section, so you're gonna see it after the support section. All right, but I forgot to go through the legendary aspects for this build. In this build, there are only a few core legendary aspects. Even without them, this build can function just fine, but they are ideal to have. However, the problem is that these legendary aspects for this build are drop only. So bear with me. There are 3 that are super crucial and you must have. Number one is the subterranean aspect, which is the seasonal aspect, allowing Poison Creeper to cast Landslide in a circle around you. This is absolutely essential. Okay, you're also going to need Trampled Earth aspect, which is a drop only aspect. This one turns your Trample into an Earth skill and a Nature Magic skill, and allows it to cast Landslide, therefore triggering your Nature's Fury and everything. Then, last but not least, you're going to need the Aftershock aspect, okay? This will allow Landslide's Earth Pillars to activate a second time and deal additional damage per hit, okay? So these are the three crucial aspects that you need. Now, there are other aspects that are named for this build. I have put them all into the build planner, so make sure you check that out. Okay, that's all you need to do. This is all that you really need. Okay, the rest are all free choices. If there's a blank slot in the planner, it means freedom of choice. For example, I happen to have this really nice Edge Masters, which I chucked in. I happen to have a Conceited Aspect, which I also chucked in, you know? So, stuff like that, yeah? Okay? That's it. Have fun with this druid. Okay, folks, we are now in the combat showcase portion of the video. In terms of the spirit boons, as you can see, I've not changed anything at all. Okay, I'm going to show you the base version that I play, and then I will swap over to the Earthen Bulwark version as well, just to show you guys the difference. Okay, so what I've mostly played on stream is the standard version. Why? Because when leveling, it was just effective for me. Okay, I had a lot of Fortify, which basically helped me survive. Alright, when I open up most fights, I will start out with the Trample to trample Landslide. Alright, and that will just work really well. And that basically is how you begin combat. Okay, and as you can see, most things just die. I'm currently in a tier 14 Nightmare Dungeon. I'm level 59. Enemies are level 67, so about 8 levels higher than me. They pose no danger, no threat. Like, realistically speaking, you'll be killing them so fast, even without Heart of the Barber, that Barber Heart will just, you know, make you ridiculous. So you don't have to use it if you don't want to, or if you don't have it yet, you will basically just shatter everything. Yeah. So as you can see, there are very few problems for this build. You just absolutely go in, shred everybody, you know, make them feel miserable, then you just carry on. And that's just it. That's literally it. Okay? Alright. Now, if you do want a bit more offensive power, you can swap this over here. So. Okay. It will mean less Fortify overall. But just take note of how quickly your Trample cools down, so you can spam it quite a bit to get the same Fortify if you really want to. All right, like so. I don't even get a chance to Earthen Bulwark up, and by the time it does explode, you know, it's ready for another cast already. So you find that you're lacking AoE. That is one way that you can do things, you know, without sweating too much. You'll still have plenty of Fortify, okay? So you don't need to sweat that. Just cast your skills as much as possible and enjoy yourself. So if you don't need to go the Fortify way, this is perfectly fine. Against big elites, I will use Poison Creeper because it does buff damage of your Earth skills and all that. There you go. As you can see, the build is so easy to run. You dish out phenomenal damage. It just feels good. You've cleared this much of the dungeon in roughly 4 minutes. Yeah? Okay. So I believe that there should be a boss fight here. I'll make sure that I get to the boss fight. I'll show you how quickly that goes by. Yeah? Alright. That's basically it. Thank you. And just don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, yeah? See you in the boss room. Okay, boss fight time. Just showing you the spirit boons are the same, yeah? And in terms of skills, I got a paragon point. I haven't put it in just to maintain the same thing. I've swapped back to the fortifying earthen bulwark, alright? This is how boss fights go with this build. After you run out of spirit, all you do is just tornado again. Oh look, all my skills cool down. Oh look, I can trample again. Oh look, the boss is dead. Okay, so that's about how you boss fight with this build. It's literally that simple. This build, you know, some people were not confident that it would work well for single target or whatever. I'm here to tell you that that's all rubbish. You are absolutely going to shred anything that comes your way. So I'm just going to be very clear about that. This build just, you know, just goes through, pow, done. Okay? Thank you very much. Enjoy.